Okay, switch to slideshow mode. Okay, so we ended here in the last class, as I remember. We had started this looking at the types of patterns we have, right? We looked at the materials of patterns, right? Just a quick revision, right? The pattern materials, their advantages and their limitations, and the examples of those types, right? Wood, metal, plastics, plaster, wax, right? And the factors to select, right? What are the factors available when we are selecting a pattern? All these dimensional accuracy, the method of molding, type of mold, the cost of the pattern, right? And the chances of repeat orders, basically durability is what will, I mean, you'll decide the durability of the pattern based on the orders that you're expecting. So now let us start with types of pattern. If there are any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, we can continue. Okay, then you see, these are the types of patterns. Okay, just as we have materials in patterns, right? Different materials we have in the pattern types. We have all these types because we have some of the other problem, right? Either it be geometry or maybe the size of the casting is too large. All these factors are responsible for the types that we use. Okay, we opt certain type over other, right? So that is the need for these types. Now the first is very simple, right? A single piece or solid pattern. It's a single piece, as the name suggests, without any joints, parting lines, or loose pieces at all. It's a single entity, you can say. Simplest form and typical single piece pattern, as you can see, right? A random geometry. The simplest type, inexpensive, used for limited production, right? So not much, like not for mass production, and even if the shape, as you can see, is not too complicated, right? That's why simplest type, and therefore inexpensive. You see two piece or split pattern, as the name suggests, it is split into two, right? The top and bottom part, as you can see on the right here. Why is it used? When the solid pattern is difficult for withdrawal from the mold cavity, then solid pattern is split into two parts, right? So if the removal is too difficult, as I said, when you're removing it, the molding sand might come off, right? So that will destroy the mold cavity. So that for that reason, and if the geometry is too complex, that you cannot even remove that, okay, without totally disturbing the mold cavity, then you prefer a two piece or a split pattern. So it is made in two pieces which are joined at the parting line by means of dowel pins. You can see here these dowel pins, right? You have a protruding element here and a recess here, right? So that this can fit in here. So basically a snap fit. Okay, I hope you know what is a snap fit. That is basically you just like your pen and cap, right? It snaps. So just so that we have alignment between the two parts, right? The two split parts. So with the help of dowel pins, they are joined at the parting line. We know what is a parting line, right? Where the cope and drag or the top and bottom part meet. Splitting at the parting line is done to facilitate the withdrawal of the pattern, right? As I said. So once this part is removed, and then the next one. You see, this is if this is a part to be cast, then that is split into two, piece number one and piece number two. So that will be removed separately, the first and second piece. Cope and drag. In this case, cope and drag of the mold are prepared separately. This is when the complete mold is too heavy to be handled by one operator. So if, as I said, size of the casting is also one factor when deciding the pattern. Deciding the type of pattern also, if it is found that the this casting is too large, then the pattern has to be large, obviously. Therefore, if it is too heavy, then it will be split into two parts, right? Common sense. So that is what gives rise to this cope and drag pattern. You have the names because cope pattern will be kept in the cope part of the flask and the drag pattern in the drag one, right? That is why you have the name cope and drag. As simple. So pattern is made up of two halves mounted on different plates. As you can see the typical example, right? Then you will have some kind of arrangement to have this alignment between the top and bottom part. You see your plate and the cope section, plate and the drag section. So with the help of either locating pins, right, or the pins on the flask, you'll be able to align them properly. Match plate pattern. This pattern is made in two halves and is mounted on the opposite side of a wooden or metallic plate known as match plate. You see this plate here. The reason why it's called match plate is because this plate is what is responsible for matching the two halves. Okay. The gates and runners are also attached to the plate, right? As you can see, this pattern is used in machine molding, a typical example as shown in figure, right? As obvious, also locating. So another significant feature is the runner is also included, right? Gates and runners are also included with this. It comes integrated with the plate, this match plate. Okay. Although this is not so clear, we'll see a clear diagram in the next one. But the reason why I kept this slide is because you see here, it is showing the material of the pattern and the castings that we can make. This gives us an idea of the number of castings, general idea of the number of castings that are made based on the pattern material, right? What this figure indicates is the three types of pattern used to produce the water pump casting, okay, like basically the casing of that pump in various quantities. If you see the wooden pattern they're using on a follow board, 20 to 30 castings. As I said, the wooden pattern is not durable, it absorbs moisture, and therefore only limited number of castings are made. So the number is 20 to 30. Match plate up to 50,000 castings depending on material. Cope and drag plastic up to 20,000, or metal 1,000. Oh, I'm sorry, 1 lakh or more, because metals are durable, right? If you apply certain coatings, then you can even prevent the corrosion, etc. But of course, that coating would cost. But it does comes off as a positive point because you're able to use it for, you see, 1 lakh or more castings, isn't it? So that gives you the number, approximate number of castings that we can make based on the material of the pattern, right? You see what we have discussed: solid pattern, one piece, split pattern, match plate pattern, right? And the cope and drag pattern. Is it clear so far? This slide will actually make it more clear. Any doubts you can ask in between. Okay. You see single piece pattern, right? Direction of withdrawal pattern from mold. So once that cavity is formed, right, ramming is done, then this is the direction of removal, right? Quite easy to remove, isn't it? Although they have not given a draft here. I told you why a draft is given, right? What do you mean by draft and why the draft is given? For example, here, you see this inclination. Why is it given? So that indicates you're not listening, huh? Not listening attentively. Should be able to answer those simple questions, right? I discussed probably 2 times, I think, about draft. No one? you see, because when you're removing this pattern, the stand would stick to it, right? So for easy removal, you will give this draft, right? And basically you have an allowance also given, draft allowance. When we discuss allowances, we'll see. So that is kept. So it will be machined later. If it is not required in the casting, it will be machined later. But it has to be kept so that the pattern can be easily removed from the mold. Okay. So loose piece pattern. We have not discussed loose piece pattern yet, right? But still, let's have a look. Split pattern we have discussed. Mass plate pattern, right? Skeleton pattern. That is basically a kind of, as you can see, skeleton based, skeleton like structure, right? Different cross sections you can see here, just so that they can minimize the weight. And what else? Multi-piece. If it is not just one, two pieces, okay, cope and drag. If it is too large, then they'll be split into three. The middle part is called cheek, right? It's not check, it's cheek. So cope, cheek, and drag, right? Three parts. So that's called a multi-piece pattern. Scope drag also called, but if it is to be made into more than two, then it's called multi-piece. Sweep pattern. You see, what happens in sweep pattern is you have this 2D, what do you call, element. Okay, it will be tied to this post, right? And it can rotate. Basically sweeps. That's why it's called sweep pattern. So this will revolve, right? Removing that sand, just as you have those, what do you call that, hand. Okay, so this once you have placed the molding sand, then this sweep will revolve and it will make that cavity based on the profile. You see here, this profile, when it revolves, it makes that cavity. Okay, so quite a simple idea, isn't it? But if there are features which are, let's say, uh, if for example, if you want complex features, right? Very minute or complicated features, right? Maybe in or so, complicated features like slots or uh, what do you call, like slots, for example. So that cannot be done with the help of this sweep, right? Because it will not be too exact. So it comes over as a limitation, but nevertheless, if you want to avoid that heavy weight of the pattern, then this can be done. Follow board pattern, you see, we'll see this in the next slide, but the idea is you have a this pattern, right, which is kept on this board. Okay, instead of having this total as a pattern, they kept this board maybe of some wooden material, etc. And this pattern, what you are seeing here, will be made of a finer surface finish, okay, a good surface finish, so that the sand which is falling on this pattern, right, the mold cavity that you have will be of a finer surface finish. The sand will be fine, right? It will be, when it is rammed, the mold cavity, the inside surface of the mold cavity, it will have a good surface finish. So that gives you a good surface finish in the casting, right? Subsequently. You see, loose piece pattern was here, right? You have those loose pieces attached, right? For example, here. Why this was given? If let's say we want to make this kind of profile and you have taken that kind of pattern, right? Let me draw it. That you have taken this kind of pattern, okay? Then when you're trying to remove it, you see here, this will come off, right? This part of the sand will come off, right? Obviously. So to avoid that, what they do is they keep a loose piece pattern, right? And that another pattern is the major pattern, you can say. This one is a loose piece pattern. So this will be removed later, right? User pattern is difficult for withdrawal from the mold, right? Whatever I have explained is here, right? When the geometry is intricate, then you keep those loose pieces inside, right? Apart from the big pattern, okay? There will be small loose piece patterns. So they're provided on the pattern and they are part of the pattern. The main pattern is removed first, leaving the loose pieces portion of the pattern in the mold, right? Finally, the loose piece is withdrawn separately, leaving the intricate mold, right? For example, here, same case. If you want to remove this upper part of the sand will come off. So they remove this big pattern first and then these loose pieces A and B later. You can see here. This is removed and then that loose piece is removed so that the total cavity, this can be filled with the molten metal. Similarly is the case here. Is it clear? 153, 1851, who is it? 1851, 153, Nalguri Pradeep. Are you listening? 18H51, 153, Nalguri Pradeep. Not listening. Okay. Now, you see follow board pattern. As I have explained, you have this thin pattern, okay? But that follow board will consume most of your weight, okay? This follow board is basically responsible for taking this pattern, right? The mold will finally take the shape of this outer profile, isn't it? It doesn't bother about what is there inside this actual small pattern, right? So it is called follow board because we are keeping it against a board, right? So this is quite a different idea, you can say, right? When the use of solid or split patterns become difficult, a contour corresponding to the exact shape of one half of the pattern is made in a wooden board, which is called a follow board, right? And it acts as a molding board for the first molding operation as shown in figure, right? You see this follow board and your pattern here. When the mold, when the sand falls here, right? When you ram it, it will take the shape of this profile, right? Follow board, as the name suggests. Gated pattern, right? Here also same story. Gated because you have a lot of gates, right? When there are a lot of what do you call patterns? I'm sorry, castings required. You keep this like in the mass production of castings. Multi-cavity molds are used. Such molds are formed by joining a number of patterns and gates and providing a common runner for the molten metal. You see here, this runner is common for all of those patterns, right? And these gates, obviously, from runner to this pattern, you will have to have a gate. So they kept the name as gated pattern, right? So mass production because we are getting a lot of components in just one filling, right? When it flows through, for example, it comes here, flows to the right and to the left, or through the runner, and then through gate to this mold cavity, right? Basically, once this is put in the mold, it'll be a mold cavity itself, right? Once you have removed this entity. So these patterns are made of metals and metallic pieces to form gates, and runners are attached to the pattern. You see, I'll show you an example. You see here, a very good example of a gated pattern, right? You have a lot of gates, a common runner, right? And you have all these castings. You see, it looks more like a banana. This thing, right? A bunch of bananas. So same thing. If you can remember that example, you can write it. If it comes in the exam, it's an easy type to remember. Type of what are we discussing? Pattern, right? So you see here another example. A common runner, right? So it goes through all of these, and you have those. Probably this is a ceramic or a marble kind of material that is being formed. Clear so far? Okay. Okay, you see sweep pattern as we have discussed, right? This post and the sweep will revolve around this post, right? So that mold cavity will take the shape of this profile we have here, right? The outer profile of the sweep, right? Is a template basically, right? This is a template. Template is basically a standard, what do you call? I don't have to explain you what is a template, right? It's a standard, what do you call, sample, you can say, right? So that is attached to the spindle at one edge, and the other edge has a contour depending upon the desired shape of the mold, right? The pivot end is attached to a stake of metal in the center of the mold, right? Very simple. And yes, this is only possible when you have symmetric, what do you call, casting, right? And not so when you have asymmetric. Very simple, right? Need not to explain that. So that is another limitation you can say for the sweep pattern, that only when you have symmetric castings to be made, we can use a sweep pattern. Now you see shell pattern. This is quite commonly used, we can say, and they are mostly used for piping work or for producing drainage fittings, right? Municipal works, sanitation, etc. This pattern consists of a thin cylindrical or curved metal piece parted along the center line. Like the two halves of the pattern are held in alignment by dowels, right? Outside surface of the pattern is used to make the mold for the fitting required, while the inside can serve as a core box. I'll show you an example. You see here, what you have here is sand, okay? In this, we'll go step by step here so you can understand what is happening. You have sand here, right? You have a hot pattern, right? This is heated. Why? Because when this sand is poured, you see in the step 2, when it is, what do you call, made upside down, then the sand will come onto this heated pattern, right? And then it is made uh, upside down again, so that you have that sand will stick to that heated pattern, right? It will take that some thickness will be, what do you call, you'll have some thickness because of this sand attaching to that pattern, right? And you see those pins, those are ejector pins. I believe they're shown here. Here you see ejector pin, right? This ejector pin is what is responsible for ejecting it, right? Basically removing it from this heated pattern. Eject is what you mean. So that is removed, and then it will be placed in this, what do you call, setup, wherein you have this, what do you call, filler material that is basically backing sand, you can say, right? It is used to support this shell, right? The molten metal will be poured, right? It will take the shape of this inside shape that you have, right? The inside profile. The molten metal will take the shape of that, and this sand or whatever is the filler material will try to back it, okay, support that shell so that it doesn't break, and a clamp to hold the two shells together. Is it clear? Very simple diagram, right? Explains a lot of things, not just, I mean, instead of theory, if you keep diagrams, I mean, even in your exams, if you just look at the diagram and you understand what is happening, you can draw the diagram and write it if it comes in your exam or for any other reason. Okay, then you see another example. you have this heated pattern, right? This sand resin mixture will be poured onto that. It takes the shape of that ejector pin. You eject it, you put it in another setup with this backing material and put the molten metal, and there you have the casting, right? Very simple. You see here, these are some of the, what do you call, examples that we can say of this shell mold casting. Now, is that clear? The last topic, the types of patterns we have: match plate, gated pattern, this shell mold pattern, right? Now let's come to pattern allowances. You see, it's quite important topic, you can say, because allowances are to be kept for sure. In every casting, you'll keep some allowance, right? Even if it is what do you call, a very simple material, but still you have to keep some allowance. Some of the other kind of this allowance is what you're going to discuss will be kept. Why? What do you mean by allowance? As the name suggests, you're trying to take into account some factors which are not in your control, right? You're keeping some allowance, right? Why? The size of the pattern is never kept the same as that of the desired casting, as I said, right? Because of the fact that during cooling, the casting is subjected to various effects, and hence, to compensate for these effects, corresponding allowances are given in the pattern. Basically, this solidification is what is responsible, right? From liquid to solid, you have a transformation from the molten metal to the solidified casting. This is a journey, a transformation of the phase. So a lot of things happen during that. Basically shrinkage and all the other things that we'll discuss. To compensate for those effects, you are keeping the allowances. As simple, right? Now, what are those allowances? These various allowances given to the pattern can be enumerated as allowance for shrinkage, that is basically shrinkage allowance, allowance for machining, machining allowance, allowance for draft allowance, allowance for wrapping or shake, allowance for distortion, and allowance for mold wall movement. Okay, and to understand allowance, you have this example. If this is your casting, the blue profile, right? If this is your casting, then you are keeping some allowance. You are making a pattern of a size larger than your casting, right? Shape is same, as you can see, almost all, not exactly same, similar, right? You have those difference here. So the shape is almost same, but the size is either kept small or large. More or less, I mean, mostly it will be kept larger than the casting. Okay, so that difference is what you call allowance. That's simple. Now you see the first kind, shrinkage allowance. As the name suggests, it takes into account the shrinkage, basically the contraction of the liquid molten metal when it is solidifying. So now you see there are two types of shrinkages. You have this here in the slide also here. All common cast metals shrink a significant amount, right? This is a property they exhibit, right? Characteristic of materials or metals mostly. When they are cooled from the molten state, right? They shrink. Contraction is taking place. The total contraction in volume is divided into the following parts. That contraction, they have divided into all these subparts. How? Liquid contraction. The contraction during the period in which the temperature of the liquid metal or alloy falls from the pouring temperature to the liquidus temperature. Basically, when that pouring molten metal is poured, right, it starts shrinking. Even in the liquid phase, it starts shrinking. As it is moving to the solid phase, the solidification has not started yet. To clarify, what we mean by liquid contraction is there is contraction or shrinkage while it is in the liquid state itself. It is not gone to the solidification stage. It is going to it, but it is not started to solidify. Before starting of the solidifying, you have contraction even in the liquid phase. That is what I want to clarify. Okay. Now, contraction on cooling from the liquidus to the solidus, that is called solidifying contraction, right? As it is solidifying, and as it has started solidifying, right? It will not solidify at one shot, right? there is a time required for it to completely solidify. It starts solidifying, and then maybe after 30 seconds or 40 seconds, let's say, for example, after 40 seconds, it is completely solidified. In between, it is partly solidified, right? Part of it is solid, part of it is liquid, like that. I hope I'm clear with that point. So the second point is you are solidifying contraction while it is solidifying. Third point is contraction that reserves thereafter until the temperature reaches the room temperature. Basically, once it has solidified, it is now solid, but still it is at a high temperature. So while it is cooling down, right, to the room temperature, there the contraction what is taking place is called solidifying contraction. So basically three types. I'm sorry, solid contraction, the third one, right? Up until the room temperature is reached, you have solidification. So that is called a solid contraction, right? The first two of the above are taken care of by proper gating and risering. Only the last one, that is a solid contraction, is taken care by the pattern makers by giving a positive shrinkage allowance. This contraction allowance is different for different materials. You see, the first two kinds are taken care of by what? We have discussed this. Riser design and proper gating system is also given. So that riser, as I said, is responsible for compensating those shrinkage effects, right? So it takes care of these two shrinkages, the liquid contraction and the solidifying contraction. While the third one, solid contraction, because it is now solidified, isn't it? So this riser will not serve the purpose here. So that contraction has to be taken into account by giving a positive shrinkage allowance, that is keeping the size more. So that, for example, if you keep it of 50 mm, right, let's say length, okay, if I want a casting of 50 mm length, I will keep the pattern to be of 52 mm, so that once it is solidified, it will contract, and therefore I will get 50, like that. So you have to know how much sorry. So we have to know how much it will contract, and that will depend on the coefficient of thermal expansion, basically, right? So it takes into account both expansion and contraction. So we have to know that coefficient of thermal expansion. So for us to know how much it will contract, and therefore how much allowance do I have to keep? How much shrinkage allowance do I have to keep? Is it clear? Shrinkage allowance, a very important allowance that is usually kept by these pattern designers. Is it clear or doubts? Okay. Only one candidate is listening. 1B4. Is that what should I assume? Okay, let's move on to the next one. You see the contraction allowances for different metals and alloys such as cast iron. You see, all these are allowances that are kept generally. Cast iron 10 mm per meter. For every meter of length, you keep 10 mm, right? So if you have 5 meters, 50 mm, right? Like that's how it goes. Brass 16 mm per meter. You see, all these values are based on their particular coefficient of thermal expansion, as I was talking about. So more is the expansion taking place, more is the allowance that is kept, right? So brass, you see 16, steel 21, quite a lot, isn't it? Lead 24. In fact, there's a special rule known as the pattern marks contraction rule, in which the shrinkage of the casting metals is added, right? So they have all these guidelines, right? They made some rules to account for this shrinkage, right? Pattern must be made oversized to compensate for the contraction of liquid metal on cooling. This addition to the dimension of the pattern is known as shrinkage allowance. So this is the gist of what we have discussed, you can say, right? It is the pattern is kept oversized to compensate for the contraction of the liquid metal on cooling, and that is what is called a shrinkage allowance. Okay.